Hello there, and welcome to week 6. Just a quick overview video for this week. This week we're going to be going over Chapter 6, Microbial Nutrition and Growth. It's a fun chapter, a lot of fun information. And here you just have the introduction to this week, and you have the chapter objectives. Alright, so objective number 1 really crosses over between all 3 sections, whether it be 6.1, 6.2, or 6.3. Just a lot of terms. So what I would recommend is creating flashcards so that you have these with you, ready to go, ready to review when you have just a couple of minutes. We'll go through table 6.2 and table 6.3. which actually has a lot of this information here. And then, very briefly, what does active transport require? You've got a couple of different activities that are going to look at some of the transport mechanisms and those processes, but I'm not going to focus on that for material required for the exam, but rather an overall idea of what active transport is and what it needs. Alright, then there is figure 6.5 that looks at temperature requirements and how organisms are classified according to the temperature they would prefer to grow at. And on page 154 there is a figure. It's not actually given a figure number, which is why you don't have that, but there is some terminology there of how organisms interact with each other or don't interact for that matter. And you'll need to know those terms as well. Then we will talk about biofilms, the steps in creating a biofilm. And then in the overall idea of biofilms, there's this term of quorum sensing that we'll go through. And then one of my favorite figures is figure 6.12. The last unit or section goes over microbial growth, and it's just a good couple of figures. Alright, then you have 3 assignments for this week. Just the Learn Smart activity. You have a homework assignment that has, I think, just 10 questions that are very specific to the objectives. So good review material. And then quiz 6 over chapter 6, which is also 10 questions, and that will open Wednesday and be available through Saturday night. So all 3 of these activities have a deadline of Saturday. Alright, so here you just have chapter 6 overview, connecting that with the other chapters. Your reading assignment, chapter 6, and then if you have writing the biological sciences, we'll work on trying to fit that into the actual class activities. But it's a good book that you will use throughout your science career. Alright, and here are the PowerPoint notes for this week. So 3 sections, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and you have your PowerPoint slides for each section. Alright, and then here you have the YouTube videos of me talking through those lecture notes. And currently there's just section 1 and then section 2, part 1. This section went a little longer. You've got 12 slides there. And so I'll finish and get part 2 up later this morning, and then hopefully section 3 this afternoon. Alright, so you've got those lecture notes that you can start working through today. Alright, now the remaining material, what do microbes eat? Alright, so what you have in the next few pages are just these different activities that you can work through. Alright, what are essential nutrients? You have micronutrients. Alright, that would fall under carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and then some other micronutrients All right, and so you can continue to work through this. You can restart it, work through it again. All right, now looking at autotrophs versus heterotrophs. Where are organisms going to draw their energy from? Where are they going to pull their carbon source from? And then the next few pages are going to be over transport mechanisms. All right, passive and active. Again, there's a lot of information here, but really what I want you to focus on is active. And then ways that organisms get material into their cells, really for the purpose of actual eating. All right, and then you have your actual assignments. So page 13, 14, 15 are those actual assignments. Here is your Learn Smart activity. All right, again, due Saturday night. You have your Chapter 6 homework Saturday night, and then quiz 6 over this week's material. And I am not completely sure when I stopped adding questions to it. As far as your weekly objectives, I know there weren't any questions on biofilms or the growth phase. So that's the end of this week. If we go back to the first page. All right, maybe the quiz stopped at objective 6. All right, I know there were questions on objective 4. All right, looking at temperature requirements, that figure 6.5. There may have been one or two questions on objective 5 as well. So make sure that you review this information. You know it. Your quiz should be taken by memory using only your brain. And again, that quiz will open on Wednesday. Now, announcements, nothing too new, but just wanted to remind you that on Thursdays, my office hours are over at the Nampa Main Academic Building. And also on Tuesday, tomorrow morning, I have office hours from 8:30 to 9:30 at the Canyon County Building. So, other big information items for this week is your exams from last week. I will hopefully get those today, at least the ones from the Nampa Testing Center. I'm not sure how long it'll take to get the ones from the Ada County Center, but I will start working on those and hopefully have the ability to get those grades into Blackboard tomorrow sometime. All right, so if you have any questions that come up during this week, please feel free to email me.